On the agenda today for Willis's Watchdogs, New York Magazine going behind bars with Ponzi schemer, you remember him, Bernie Madoff. In the interview, he offers a message to his victims. This is so bad, sort of along the lines of, to heck with you, but he was more forceful in his language. Use your imagination. We bring in our panel now for some reaction. Doug Flynn is a financial planner and founder of Flynn Zito Capital Management. Erica Payne, a political strategist, and in D.C., Fox contributor Nina Easton. Nina, I want to start with you. Is anybody really surprised by this? I mean, you know, the guy has shown such bad judgment all the way along.
Are you starting with me? I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
Yes, Nina, go right ahead.
Yeah, it's more than bad judgment. I find what's fascinating, Gerri, is that you look at this guy and you think, how could he live with himself all these years? How could he live with himself knowing what he knew? And what we find out from these interviews is that he's a clinical narcissist. He's
worse than that.
Worse than that, well, criminal mind, but a real narcissist, in that he talks about how he's so put upon that he's the victim because of all this, the fact that he had to carry these lies around with him, oh, poor me, and the fact that these people were throwing money at him and he had to invest it, and it just, the fact that he can't bring himself out of his own being,
let me read this quote directly
is
from
shocking.
Bernie. He says, I carried them, meaning his clients. I carried them for 20 years, and now I'm doing 150 years. You know, Erica, I have no sympathy. I'm sorry. It looks like he's trying to get sympathy out of people, but I don't feel that.
Yeah, I have no sympathy either, but I would just extend it outside of Bernie Madoff onto most of the CEOs of the big banks on Wall Street who took really reckless risks, out of control risks, and brought down the economy. And what they've tried to say to us is, well, we paid you back the $750 billion, and so, you know, we're out.
Totally
when the fact of the matter is, they cost about $13 trillion to the economy. So the same way that the oil spill.
Than Bernie Madoff. Doug, let me get to you, because, you know, there's criminal activity, out and out ripping people off and running a Ponzi scheme, and then there's being way too aggressive in the way you run your business. Two different things. What would you tell people out there? Because there's another Bernie Madoff just waiting to be discovered right now.
No doubt. There's a lot of things that can be done, and nobody's really addressing them. But I think this sounds like, you know, tough talk inside of a prison cell more than anything else. But to me, it's easy to beat on the people that are greedy. I think what the feedback that he gets is just that, you know, you took money from a bunch of rich, greedy people, and they deserve everything they get. Unfortunately, what that feeling in prison sort of translates outside as well. That's kind of the theme outside of prison as well, which I think is unfortunate.
All right. Well, let's go to the next story.
Can I make a response? I'd love to respond to this. We're going to compare Bernie Madoff to CEOs of America's companies. That's astonishing. You're saying they're crooks and that they conducted a giant Ponzi scheme. I mean, the major bank CEOs have paid back any loans with interest to the American people, and that message doesn't. They actually have.
There was $750 billion that we had to spend to bail out the banks themselves.
All right, ladies.
However, there was a $13 trillion damage to the economy. So in the same way the oil spill,
on the responsibility of Wall Street CEOs. I have to say, I'm with Nina on this one. I don't think you can compare Madoff to CEOs, but there's a bigger and possibly more important story for your wallet out there, and that's the IMF. Forecasting that by 2012, the U.S. debt will surpass that of the GDP, meaning we'll owe more than we produce. All right, let's go back to the panel here. Doug, this is right up your alley. This is a disaster.
Yeah, well, this is basically Greece, us going along those same things. At the end of the day, what nobody really talks about is the only way you're really going to get out of this. You're not going to get out of it just by cutting. You're not going to get out of it by raising taxes. The way you have to get out of it is to grow GDP. That's how we got out of it last time. That's how we ended up with surpluses. That's how we'll do it again. Unfortunately, no one's doing anything that would actually promote the growth of GDP, getting people hired and lowering taxes and the things that spur it. We're doing the exact opposite.
Erica, you want to raise taxes? I'm guessing.
Well, you know, I mean, me and all my lefty brethren, that's all we ever want to do, right? Those are our
solutions.
Do you
have a solution?
Well, I'll tell you this. The debt is very alarming. The things that we spend our money on can be very problematic. I was on Neil Cavuto's show the other day, and we spent $800,000 last year on catfish genome mapping. If you can explain to me what that is.
I think there's a lot of misallegation.
But I would say there was another point in American history where the debt was this high, and it was during World War II, when it was 120% of GDP, and that's because we had to spend a lot of money, and unfortunately government money, to put people back to work,
do you
which
think
is part
that's
of what's happening right now.
Do you think this is comparable, this period, to you know, the World War II era?
It's not comparable. Again, that's a ridiculous comparison. That's not comparable to World War II, first of all. Second of all, just on a political matter, let's step aside from the economic problems of this, the possible rising of interest rates, the fact that we're going to be paying more to borrow more. There's the whole political question. The debt is something that people can't really get their hands around. Voters say they care about the debt, but typically in the past they haven't. Now that's changing. People are really concerned about the debt, and this is a very powerful political metaphor sitting out there right now. Look, this is bigger than the economy.
Well, let me tell you, there are a lot of political metaphors. We're going to have to leave it there. Thanks to the panel. We'll see you again a little later in the program for your take on what should happen to that banking beauty who just won't stop talking. And if you at home are fired up about any of these issues, like my panel is, aren't they good? Just drop us an email to willisreport@foxbusiness.com.
Coming up on the Willis Report, as cleanup costs in the Gulf skyrocket, see Washington's plan to have you pay for this mess. The government could have given each American $1,000. Instead, they bailed out Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. So the $1,000 question, what would you do if you had that money back? Too hot to bank? See why Citibank has a problem with how hot their employee looks on the job. Find out this and more ahead on the Willis Report.